They all
We're ready.
And the test is tested positive.
You did?
Fine, we're ready.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, September 20th, 2021. I'd like to call to order the Humboldt County Board of Commissioners meeting. It's 8:30. We'll begin with Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll please join me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda, we'll have public comment. Is there anyone in the public who would like to provide public comment to the Humboldt County Board of Commissioners meeting? I'm not hearing anyone, so we'll move it on to approval of minutes.
We did not have any.
Didn't have any
I was
minutes.
gone, sorry.
Next on the agenda is approval of expenditures for Humboldt County for September 7th, 2021 through September 19th, 2021. Has everyone seen the, is there any questions? Everyone saw the expenditures? If not, is there a motion to approve expenditures?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the expenditures from September 7th, 2021 to September 19th, 2021.
Okay, motion is on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. I don't know, do you see Commissioner Haas? Has he joined us? Okay. Next, we have miscellaneous reports and correspondence. Other information and upcoming meetings are October 4th, 2021, Humboldt County Commission meeting. October 11th, Regional Airport Board meeting. And October 14th, a Regional Planning Commission meeting. We'll start with you, Commissioner Hill. Do you have anything to report?
This is Commissioner Hill. I don't think I have anything since the last report that I gave at the last board meeting.
Okay. Commissioner Tipton.
Only thing I can report is from the Humboldt County Hospital is we continue to have a lot of people showing up in the hospital with COVID. We currently, as of this morning, we had 11 patients, 1 in ICU. They're continuing to change some of their protocols as they go through this as needed. I think there were some surgeries canceled this morning, but they're trying to stay on top of that as well as we go forward. Don't have anything. Oh yeah, we did. There was a replacement of EMS director. Mr. Lovelace is in charge of EMS now. Other than that, I don't have anything.
Okay. Commissioner French.
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing this
Okay.
morning.
I had a WCVA meeting last week. We have Shelley Noble, as I think you all recall, is retiring. Her last day will be the first of this month. Liz Bernard has replaced Shelley. Room taxes continue to be very, very good. I think it was June broke new records, and they're bringing in a lot of revenues to the county. Kent Maher has replaced Bill McDonald as the legal counsel on WCVA. Bill is stepping back from a lot of his chores, which he had many of, so glad to have Kent join, because Kent being legal counsel to Ag District 3 fits right in and will be a real easy transition there for us. Events still are coming, even though some have been smaller than anticipated. As you recall, there was going to be what they call the Paint Horse Classic or Horse Show. It's still supposed to, it was canceled this spring. It should be, I think, starting like next week. It's supposed to bring a lot of contestants to town, and but there again, we're hearing some people dropping out. I guess because of COVID. I'm assuming, but it's still going to take place. That's all I have to report. We have Judge Montero. Is he?
No, this is Wendy Maddox. If he's going to be on his way in about 5-10 minutes, so perhaps we can just take some of the other items and go back to his.
Okay.
Jill's
We'll
here.
come back to item 7. Go to item 8, appointment of Jill Stepper to the Regional Planning Commission. Consideration, discussion, and possible appointment of Jill Stepper to the vacant seat on the Regional Planning Commission to serve the remainder of a 4-year term that will expire 6/30/2025 pursuant to Humboldt County Code 13.014.040. Discussion and possible action. Jill, I see you're here. Do you have anything to say? You want to come up? No? Okay. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I've just got one thing to say. We do have not a lot of difficulty, but sometimes difficult times trying to find people to serve on any boards. But regional planning is a tough one because there's a lot of regulatory issues and statute, and it really requires somebody to dig in. And I think Jill will do a great job. So thanks, Jill.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree. Jill's been part of the community and tried to step forward and be part of the community, and I think she would do well here, and I'd be prepared to make a motion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would make a motion that we appoint Jill Stepper to the vacant seat on the Regional Planning Commission to serve the remainder of a 4-year term that will expire on 6/30/2025 pursuant to Humboldt County Code 13.014.040.
Motion's on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Passes unanimously.
Well,
Good luck. Thank you for doing this.
Jill, they'll prepare your oath. They'll probably have it done in a few minutes if you're sticking around, so you can go over and take it before you leave if you prefer.
Okay. We'll go back to item 7. I see Judge Montero's here. 6th Judicial Court introduction to the Board of Court Master Massey Mayo. Update on juvenile services. Judge Montero will introduce Court Master Massey Mayo and will update the Commission on juvenile court justice. This is for information only. Good morning, both.
Good morning. Good morning.
Judge.
I'm not sure what, for the record, Michael Montero, I'm not sure what your preference is. Do you want me to speak through the mask? I can go either way.
That's whatever you'd like to.
Thank you.
I think we can hear you okay.
Okay, yeah, I'm usually pretty good. Well, good morning, everyone. And it's nice to always come before the commissioners, and this is kind of a special opportunity to be here this morning to introduce Massey Mayo. And I don't think she needs any introduction. I think everybody knows Ms. Mayo very well. She's practiced in the community for over 12 years now, and I've just been very fortunate to, after Gabrielle Carr retired as the court master, I was able to convince Ms. Mayo to come to work in the courts, and she started July 12th, so we're a little late getting down here to maybe introduce her to all of you in this capacity. A couple of reasons why, though, I think it's important to introduce. I got to get in the mindset of it's Court Master Mayo now, to introduce her to all of you. But first, just generally an overview of the work of the court master. We have, as you know, 2 court masters. Rita Fowler handles just child support. So all of the child support cases she hears and makes recommendations to me for court orders on those. In this instance, the master position that Massey Mayo is taking is a little more complex. She's not just hearing, traditionally it was juvenile court master, but so she does all the juvenile court master work, but we've expanded it to include guardianship work Also dependency cases, so the cases where children are being removed from their homes by the Division of Child and Family Services, or maybe under a safety plan. Court Master Mayo will be helping me with some of those cases because we're kind of splitting some of that caseload right now. And then we're also looking at other ways to use the court master position, such as doing settlement conferences. She's also going to be helping internally with some of the administration of the office and my HR work, and trying to expand into some of the family cases, handling some of our initial meetings, especially if it's pro se litigants, those who don't have an attorney. Because of her experience as in the community doing divorce custody work, I think she'll be really good to help some of those pro se litigants resolve their disputes without significant time in the court system. I think the other thing that's really going to be great with Massey Mayo coming on at this time is, we're close to getting opening our transitional living center at the juvenile center. I think under her leadership can help Director Sala in implementing policies that are needed there and opening the center. And other really important reason is there's a lot of change happening in the law in Nevada, and placing a lot more emphasis on the courts providing treatment services to criminal defendants. You all may remember in the 2019 legislative session, there was a sweeping reform bill, AB 236, that's really affected a lot of the criminal cases that are coming through the court system, the lower level drug cases, for example, where a judge now cannot, unless there's some disqualifiers like they've been in prison maybe twice before, cannot send somebody to prison. I mean, we have to, by law, put them on a diversion program, which means really putting them into a specialty court. This is the legislature's, has implemented this change in the law, and so we have to try to find ways to accommodate that in our community. And so we're going to be looking, and it's nice to have Ms. Maddox from the District Attorney's Office too, and Master Mayo. Just shortly after she got started, I took a team back to the National Association of Drug Court Professionals annual meeting this year. And this is not unique to Nevada. I think it's happening across the country with justice reform to try to eliminate prison populations, and Nevada is just one of them. So I think we're going to be doing a lot of work in that area as well, and I'm excited to have her help and leadership there. To give you, maybe to expand on that just a little bit more, some of you may have met Denny Bird. She works with us now doing pretrial services. I think she was going to join us by video today. You all recommended her to serve representing Humboldt County, and I've got to read this, on the Nevada Local Justice Reinvestment Coordinating Council. And so she was appointed on your recommendation to that statewide commission. And just within about the last 10 days, she was informed that she's the vice chair of that newly created statewide commission. And that commission also was a result of this AB 236 in 2019, where they're going to be looking at initiatives to address the growth of prison populations and the expense of that growth. So it's nice to see that here in Humboldt County, we're going to be, I think, well positioned to, to monitor some of this change and hopefully have people on the ground here that can help you and the courts see that these changes are going to be implemented appropriately. I think also in this same realm, Director Solin, I don't know if she was able to join us today. She was going to come by. She was recently appointed to the Nevada Commission for Resilient Nevada by Attorney General Aaron Ford. This is a commission that's going to be watching the settlement proceeds from the opioid litigation and helping to see that those funds, how they're distributed in the state of Nevada. So I think another very important appointment by a member of the 6th Judicial District Court. And in that same vein of, there are these changes coming to the court system and helping those with addiction and eliminating prison populations that we have to really stay on top of. Those are a couple of the things that are happening in the courts. We have a lot of other good things. I have a great team right now. I think that coming back from the NADC, the National Association of Drug Court Professionals Conference this year, I think really because they canceled it last year, well, it was held virtually. And I think it's really, the whole team is really excited and rejuvenated in this kind of work. We did miss this year Julia Dendary, who's my specialty court coordinator, and I know she came in the back of the room, and she didn't attend with this year, and which was hard. But with the new baby, she stayed home and held down the fort, so to speak. Last week, talking about coming to meet with you, we talked about maybe just a really quick case example of some of the work that Julia and all of the specialty court team is doing, and I wanted to share with you. I'm not going to mention any names, but we have an individual that's a lifelong resident of our community. Back in 2018, he was arrested and booked into the Humboldt County Detention Center 8 times. 8 times in 1 year. He was then, in September of 2019, he was admitted into our mental health court. This individual was struggling with severe mental illness. Many of the places in town had told him that he was not welcome, to never come back. One being our local hospital. He was not welcome there, and this is an individual that was suffering from severe mental illness. So we put together a group of kind of community leaders to talk about, well, and I say community leaders in the criminal justice and the court system, to try to talk about ways that maybe we could come up with a plan. The district attorney was involved with Richard Haas, Maureen McQuillan, our former alternate public defender, was involved, Chief Garrison with PD, Captain Wilkin with the Sheriff's Office, Judge Lovelace, Nikki Lynn, Indigent Services, myself, and Julia Dendary. And the goal was to try to put together a plan to see if we can prevent this recycling of this individual through our court system and through the jail and in many instances through the hospital. After a lot of work by everyone, and especially Julia, I have to give her a lot of credit. This individual is doing very well today. He had spent about close to 10 years on and off living on the streets, and at one time was living in a storage shed. And last Friday, he signed his own lease to an apartment. He has been 2 years with no contact with law enforcement in our community, and he's just living a much different life now. And it's this type of work that we're doing with our specialty courts that has been able to afford this change of an individual in our community. And that's just one example, but I thought it was an example that might resonate with everyone today. And so I'm happy to open it up to any questions you might have of me or of Ms. Mayo. It's hard to keep her quiet here. I know she's probably dying to say something. Nancy, anything you'd like to add?
Well, yes, I just want to say I'm very excited about this position. I think that coming from what I used to describe as being in the trenches, helping, the individual client try to navigate the criminal justice system, and the civil system, mostly through a lot of custody, divorce, guardianship work, seeing families with their various struggles, whether that means that grandparents are raising kids or that families are trying to find services to ensure that their children are receiving the services that they might need as their family restructures and changes and modifies, really drove my passion to ensure that we were, looking at a bigger picture and not just solving that moment in time's issues for most families. And so being on the back end of that and hopefully working towards a perspective for some of the policy that gets put into place so that we can ensure that our community does continue to be a place where families want to come, and when they're in a time of need that they know where they can go for resources, including the court and including other services, is really a very important agenda for myself. I think that it's one of those similar. I'll use the analogy of when you start at the bottom of a corporate ladder and you work your way to the top. When you get to the top, hopefully what you remember is what it was like to be at the bottom and what impacted you on a daily basis. And that's certainly what I like to do in terms of the courtroom, is try to think about, yes, are these policies, yes, there's this national trend, or yes, we're trying to do X, Y, and Z as a goal, but really what can I do in my position to ensure that whoever's in front of me is getting the best opportunity to access to justice, and then access for moving forward in terms of their family life. So also the last thing I'll just say is that, well, two things. I get this from Judge Montero, I think. One, when we did go to NADCP, I was very, it was a moment of where you learn a lot of what you don't know. And it excites you to learn more because there's just so much out there that you don't know. But it is very impressive that in Humboldt County, for the size of our county, that we offer a drug court, a family treatment court, a mental health court, a DUI diversion court. There are so many communities that barely keep together a drug court for their communities. And I think that that's a phenomenal statement about who we are as individuals and leaders in this community. And I also just think that that piggybacks onto the example that Judge Montero gave of naming at least 5 community leaders that you had there that came together to do what was right. And I just, no matter what's going on in the country, I'm always so proud to live here, because whether it's putting together a Boys and Girls Club or an individual's needs, our community can come together. And that's what I think every day I'm so hopeful about. And I just am very proud. So I'm really excited, and that's I think all I had to say.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Well, let me add in here that I think we as a commission and me as a commissioner really appreciate the legal system that we have here and the team that Judge Montero has put together. I don't bet there isn't a community better, at least a small community, better served in this state than Humboldt County, and our residents know that they have help here if they need it. So great to have you join that team. So we're very happy to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Very nice to be here.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Have a great
Massey.
day. Thank you.
Thanks, Massey.
Okay. We are on number 9, which is the Comptroller Financial Report. Humboldt County Comptroller Gina Rackley will provide an overview of current conditions with respect to Humboldt County revenues and expenditures for fiscal year 2021, July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021, including possible impacts of the COVID-19 response in the county and an update on the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. Information only. Good morning, Gina.
Good morning, Commissioners. Comptroller Gina Rackley, for the record. Not really a lot to update on right now. Last week, we were at the County Fiscal Officers Association Conference. Tammy completed her term as president. I'm sure she's glad to be done with that. Treasurer Rona and Recorder Debbie and I all attended. The one thing that remained as a continual topic, no matter if we were together as a group or individual in our breakout session, is how is everybody spending their ARPA money and what are the plans? So that was pretty good to hear some different ideas. I'm sure those of you who will be attending NACO in a couple next week. next week, we'll probably hear a lot of ideas as well. And I think that that will be very helpful as we prepare our plan that we're going to submit next month. So Commissioner Tipton has been a very great asset reaching out to the rural parts of our county and to try to spread this out. And that the one thing that you hear time and time again is this is really different than the coronavirus relief funds. Those were more a reaction. We were responding to something that was just coming at us like crazy, where this is more of a forward-thinking plan. What do we want to do with this $3 million in the next three to 5 years? So this is more planning and thinking forward, and really how do we recover from this? What do we take from what we learned through the pandemic and implement that to make a better county for all of our members in the community? I think you have an item later on in your agenda today discussing the use of some of that money as well, and those are little thoughts to keep in mind as you consider that request. So that's pretty much all I have.
Any questions for Gina?
I have none.
Well,
Have a great day, guys.
all positive notes, so glad to hear that.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Gina.
Okay, is it 10? Is it a little too early for the,
A little too early, yeah, we're quite a bit early.
Just cruising right
so
along.
can we go to 12 then? Public
Yes.
Works? Okay. Public Works Department request to waive attrition policy for possible action. General road projects, consideration, discussion, possible approval to waive the attrition policy to hire for the position of mechanic, which will be vacant in November due to a retirement. Discussion and possible action. Let's start with A. Don, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Don Kalkowski, Humboldt County Public Works. So this was originally, per communications with the individual, not going to happen until November. It actually happened 2 weeks ago. I showed up to work and he was gone, and I had a note on my desk that he's gone. So we're actually out this position right now. I sent an email out to all the managers that, as of Monday before last, we need everybody to, if you're doing a PM on your equipment, we need them to make an appointment. So we're not in the middle of something else with our other mechanics and they have to pull off of that to do. So we're just doing some morning appointments a couple times a week or a couple days a week to get through this right now. But this is this individual handles light duty, medium duty, which is fire trucks, all of our, not all, but any of our light duty vehicles, pickups, cars, everything that is not a lease vehicle. And they handle all the repairs, the preventative maintenance and everything on those. Not filling this is going to be kind of difficult, and I believe we would have to farm quite a bit of the stuff out if we didn't fill it. So,
Yeah.
Any questions?
How many mechanics do you have?
We have 3 right now.
And you're down one of those 3?
Correct.
So you only have 2 actually
Correct.
working right now.
Yeah.
We've got quite a fleet that we have to keep running. And then I go back to the purpose of this attrition policy is to see if you can do without that person. And
Yeah.
I kind of think this is we're not going to do it. We're not going to let one mechanic go and be able to and keep our fleet running with only 2 mechanics.
It could be done, but I just think that there's going to be a lot of downtime with vehicles, just because, we're missing that person. If you bring a vehicle in for a repair or whatever, one of my mechanics is going between our road stuff and that, and it's just going to take a lot of time. It's going to be our equipment down longer, putting strain on the road work, and then, say it's a sheriff vehicle down, it's going to be down longer because the mechanics we have right now are just going to have to split their time between the 2.
Well, and if you've got one of them sick or on vacation, then you've got one guy to do
Yeah,
it all.
that's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think if you factor in also that we're going to fill that gap with having to have services, we're going to pay for those same services in the community, because obviously on some of those repairs, we're going to have them, those vehicles are going to have to come up quick as we can. So pay us now or pay us later is what it boils down to. And I have to agree with you. When you have essentials, some of these positions are essential. We all know they're essential. It's not a matter of trying to figure it out over the course of 90 days or 120 days. So I'm in favor of filling the position ASAP.
Anyone else?
I would tend to agree. I think your cost here, to Don's mention that he probably could do it, but you would be going to outside services that are going to cost more, plus the downtime the experience is a cost to the county as well. So I think it's a no-brainer. I think we have to go forward with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Any other
Yeah.
comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner French. I would move that we approve a waiver of the attrition policy to hire position of mechanic, which is going to be vacant, which is vacant presently.
Okay, motion is on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Okay, so that takes us to item B. Presentation by Humboldt County Public Works Director Don Kalkowski to update the board on road projects within Humboldt County. However, no action may be taken on a matter raised until the matter itself has been specifically included on the agenda as an item upon which action may be taken. Go ahead, Don.
Good morning again, Don Kalkowski, Humboldt County Public Works. So the last couple of weeks and continuing this week, we've been working on the airport area, grading, adding material to those roads. Some of those roads just had reject material, which can get kind of slimy and it's pretty dusty. So we've been adding good base material to those roads to bring them back up and hopefully, sustain them and create a little bit less dust issues during the dry season. So we've been working on that. Sand Pass Road, that thing got torn up while we were busy working on other stuff, and the guys have been out there for a couple weeks now. They're going to continue this week. They should be just about caught up this week and maybe move into the sand dunes area to start working on that. We've been getting a few dust complaints. We've been trying to run water trucks out there as often as we can. That's another section that we did mag, but I just think with how dry it is and everything else, it's just, the mag's holding together, but we're still kicking up quite a bit of dust. So Paradise Valley, Paradise Ranchos, we've just been working on various things. We did secure with the 101 Ranch. They're allowing us to obtain some water in that area, which actually saves probably about an hour and a half round trip from our normal water spot or where we get water up there. So that's helping quite a bit. We did have to do a little bit of add some pit run material so our trucks could turn around in the location where he's got the water stand out there. But other than that, I think it'll help out significantly for the maintenance out there in the Paradise Ranchos, I guess the eastern side. Dutch Flat, the potato harvest is coming. The guys have been out there working, trying to get that road up. And I think, like I said last time, once they start the potato harvest, those guys are just going to be running water truck all day long, both of them. So just to keep the roads together. So, and then Kings River, kind of the same thing. They have a silage harvest coming up, and that's from one end of the valley to the other, because they've got Kings River Ranch has silage fields all over. So it just takes a lot of their time because they're both going to be running water trucks. Right now they've been out there working on Horse Creek Road, trying to get some of these roads up that they're going to be hauling on, just get them back up to smooth. So we're not tearing them up when they're running the silage haul. And then the guys have been working on Leonard Creek. They did some pipe repairs the last couple of weeks, replacing some pipes, and now they're kind of on the eastern side this week. The other thing to note, lost another position, but this is one that I may try and see if we can use the or stick with the attrition policy. One of my water wastewater guys decided to leave, and with that being a public health position, I didn't want to have any issues, so we just let him go rather than any possible issues with the water systems or wastewater systems. So I have that opening. We had two at the time, we had two. So that just happened this morning, by the way. We had two. We still got the one on board, and we're just going to see how he does. We've got a lot of work upcoming with new lead copper rule mandates that are coming down from the feds, and it's just going to take a lot of time, and we're being pressured. I've given him some stuff, and he's working hard. He's getting me information as he can, so I'm pretty pleased with him, and I really want to see how he does by himself and go from there. So
you're going to want to stay with 120 days on this one?
don't quote me on that.
I wrote it down.
I'm going to try. This guy's fairly new. He's only been with us about a month and a half, 2 months. But he's great. He's doing a really good job. He's picking up things quick. I just want to see how he does by himself. And if he can handle everything by himself, then we'll go from there. So
How are you doing in your search for an assistant public director?
we have interviews the 12th, I think, coming up. Had a pretty good pool to pick from. I think there was like 14 or 15 applicants
Oh, wow.
for that.
Good.
So
Good.
pretty good.
Did you say you had internal interest too, or no?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
We actually had two, but one of those was the one that
Oh.
was gone this morning. So
The other question, the 101 ranch where you're getting water, that's right on the ranch.
yes,
Is that through the current owner or I understand that place is maybe in escrow or?
I've heard it's been for sale for a while.
Right.
So I haven't, the guy's talking with, oh my gosh, I can't even remember his name now. The guy that owns it right now.
Joe Marvel.
Joe. He hasn't said anything that
Okay,
it's in
so-
escrow or anything. So he saw the stuff that we did to get around that water stand, and he was extremely
Yeah,
appreciative.
he's good at helping.
So,
I guess something to keep in the back of your mind is if it does sell, to try to maybe secure that from,
well, and he made a note to those guys that he's going to put something in there that we can get water anytime we want.
Yeah, that's-
old, but I don't know how far that's going to go. But I
that
mean,
would be in
it's-
everybody's best interest. if they did.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, we try to help those guys out too. If they're giving us water, it's costing them
Yeah,
to do that. If we can, improve the access getting in there
Sure.
and doing that, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, it
We're
does.
not tearing up our equipment, getting in there, and it makes it easier for us to get in there and get the stuff and helps them out as
Does
well.
it sound like you're going to, or look like you're going to be able to use it in the wintertime too?
Possibly. I haven't looked that close at it to see. Wintertime, we're not as dire
Yeah.
as we are right now. I mean, that hour-and-a-half round trip right now just kills us. In the winter, when it's not, I mean, it's still dry, but we don't have that sun beating and baking everything. It's not as detrimental
Yeah.
to the road work.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Herschel.
Herschel Road, railroad tracks and cattle guard.
Cattle guard. We had another mishap out there on a trailer, apparently. Trailer jumped off of going over that cattle guards. So,
And that cattle guard is no worse than any other road that I've noticed, but it is on my list. So we're just, I don't know what to tell you. It's kind of like Davis Lane. I went up there and checked out Davis Lane, and yeah, there's spots that we need to address. The cattle guard, we absolutely need to address.
can we grind that? Is it as opposed to lift?
I don't want to do that. I would rather lift it up, bring everything up, because if we grind it, we're just going to make a kind of a longer hole. more than anything, because this cattle guard is sunk, so we're just kind of extending that hole out. Would it help? It might help, but that hole's still going to be there.
Yeah.
It's just kind of,
I'm just thinking at it from a temporary perspective, knowing that
I would
getting to it's been such a,
I would hate to grind it and then go back in and try and raise that cattle guard, because then we're making a bigger mess or bigger issue. So we just need to get in there and get it done.
Is there any signage on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We put signage about a year ago when we had this kind of got brought up with the low crossing and rough. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Don? See any? Thank you, Don.
Okay. Thank you all.
Still ways out for public hearings, so we'll move. 13 is Humboldt County Television District request for a refund of assessment. Consideration and discussion, possible approval of a request from John Humboldt to refund the Humboldt County Television District assessment. Discussion, possible action. Dave, do you want to touch on this, or
Go ahead.
Rick, you're here.
Rick, sure.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Rick Grantham, Humboldt County Technology and TV District. In this particular area, which is on the other side, going out Jungle Road past Tabletop, we cannot reach that community out there at all. So
So you can't get signal.
no, unfortunately not. Taller mountain, taller tower, maybe.
Okay. Well, we've had these types of cases come before us before, and when they can't get the signal, they shouldn't have to pay just the assessment. So we have waived it. Probably sounds like this is a case where we should look at that.
Mr. Chairman, Wendy Maddox for the record. I just want to point out that two things. One, his name is Humbert, Himbert, and according to Comptroller Rackley, the amount of the refund is $30.
Oh.
How's the spelling on the name?
H-I-M.
H-I-M, according to the attachments, Himbert.
Just missing an N, okay.
Humbert.
Any other discussion on this item? If not, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for approval of a request from John Humbert to refund the Humboldt Television District assessment of $30.
Any motions on the floor? No further discussion? Then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Okay. 14 is Technology Services request for approval to contract Sky Fiber to install secondary fiber access point. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval to enter into agreement with Sky Fiber to install a secondary fiber access point at the sports complex communication site in the amount not to exceed $47,540, subject to the Humboldt County District Attorney's Office approval. The contract is for fiber installation, monthly fiber service in the amount of $2,598 for 3-year term. This fiber access will provide Humboldt County with a secondary path to access the internet in the event of service outage from the first path. The second path would maintain the county's internet access. The monthly fiber service fee will remain approximately the same. Discussion and possible action. Okay, Rick.
Good morning. One of the things that we have with AT&T is we have multiple fiber taps to AT&T, one at this courthouse and one over at the dispatch center. The key note here is AT&T provides that service. Every time AT&T has an outage, it varies across the board on what type of outage. We just experienced one a couple weeks ago of 13 hours of outage. Some of the internet was affected, some of it was not. But we did lose TVs 100% on what we call the backhaul system. When that system goes down, we lose all access to the World Wide Web. We have some other stuff that's using on the legacy telephone lines like DSL, does not provide enough for the county's needs. Every one of these services and all the fiber is through AT&T. The idea of this project, it'll give us access through the Lumen fiber, which was CenturyLink or L3 through the years. The idea is to remove internet access at the courthouse and at the dispatch center and have one central location back at the switch center outside of Fernley. Then we would provide fiber path from AT&T, which is currently there, and then a fiber path through Lumen back to us here at Humboldt County to keep internet access, hopefully with very little outage, if any at all, going forward from this point. To give you an idea, this meeting, Teams, all the county offices rely on internet access. And I was just talking to Judge Montero. He had some internet access issues the other day. So a lot of the court hearings have gone this remote access. This is going to be a key thing going forward in the future. So do you have any questions on this?
So Rick, this is just a backup. Or, I mean, because we're looking at 31, it's almost 2,600 a month for this security or a backup, right?
Yeah. it's
Correct.
very
The two
fast.
fees that we're paying now for the two fiber taps, one here at the courthouse and the one at the dispatch center, those fees would go away. But in a sense, we're paying the one fee at the switch center for a single access instead of multiple locations. And then with the fiber being installed from Lumen, the switch center will provide us the World Wide Web access, but we need the two different routes to get to Humboldt County. If you remember 2 years ago, I think it was, we had like a 4-day outage because the fire took out the fiber from Reno to the switch center. And that was huge. It was a big impact to us.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I don't think you answered the question.
Okay.
So currently, what's our cost for those two lines that we use with AT&T? Aren't they about the same right now?
A little bit less. One's at $1,100 a month and the other one's at $850 a month.
Okay, so 1,100, so you got about $2,000, right?
Right around there.
Now, with this, those go away, correct?
Correct.
So essentially, we'll pay $2,600, so about $600 more, and we'll have full redundancy. Is that correct?
We will have the option of a backup through the fiber once we pay for the fiber, yes. But I wouldn't say it's full redundancy in the sense that anything could fail at any given time. But our odds of having internet outages are drastically reduced.
Absent hardware failure, though, we do have redundancy with this.
Correct. Yes.
And the cost will be a little more than we currently pay. It'd be $600 more a month.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, that helps a lot.
Yeah, so $600 a month, we're picking up full redundancy.
650, yeah.
So in a situation like we had a few years ago when the fire took out the line, or we had another issue where the line was cut, so we lost all of our internet. If we go this route, then if something happened to AT&T, we would still have it through
To
Lumen.
be transparent,
Or
yes.
if
The
something
system should
happened to
switch over.
Lumen, we should still have it through AT&T.
Right.
Correct.
Should.
Yes. I can tell you right now, nothing's 100% guaranteed, but yes, we will increase our uptime considerably with this once the project is completed.
And so the project to do it is the $141,068.
No,
Mm-mm.
no. So the cost to dig the trench and put the conduit in and the thing is 47,540. So there's that,
Okay.
there's that cost. And then the 2,600, and just so you know, I originally asked him to look into this to see if it would qualify for ARPA. We've checked with Gina. She seems to think it might. I looked at the information myself. I don't believe it qualifies, either any part of it, to be honest. But the goal is we have an opportunity here to get this redundancy for essentially $48,000 installation cost. And then again, our monthly fee will go up $600, but we'll have that full redundancy. Again, it could still fail if both sides went down somewhere, but that's highly, highly unlikely that it would, so.
So the full redundancy is for all our buildings, would it be dispatch, courthouse, sheriff's office, everybody?
Right.
For all of our public safety, everything,
All
yes.
our public safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, that was the real critical part. I think we had kind of a backup plan with AT&T that would come out of Salt Lake or something, but if you lose AT&T, you lose AT&T.
Correct.
There wouldn't be any holes in the program, right, going by this?
I'm sorry?
There wouldn't be any holes in the program, as far as everybody would get the redundancy that another provider would provide.
Everybody that's that we support under Humboldt County, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we-
47,540 and then $650 a month. $650 a month though would be there forever and ever.
Yeah.
More than what we're
Right.
paying now.
Right.
Will this offer any expandability, I guess, if we need faster speeds, as we put more computers on and more team sessions? Will this, I guess, take out any blocks of us being inhibited by any speeds or transmission of data? Would it help?
If in the county requirements, we need to go from 500 meg or 1 gig to 10 gig, yes, we should be able to do that over the fiber. So that, yes, that pipe or that demand can be increased as we go.
Okay, would it instantly, if we were to hook into this other fiber, I guess, instantly up our speeds and up our,
The demand?
yeah. I guess what I'm getting at is, besides having a back loop for safety and for going down, was there any other advantage?
This will increase our capability, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Where is this trench? So 1,888 feet of 2-inch fiber conduit. And the vaults.
There's a tap on aluminum just over there between Burger King and I believe that other building, that structure there. Have you ever seen the tower?
Yep.
Behind there, in that location.
Oh.
So we're looking at doing the permitting with the city to try to get around the
Complex.
baseball diamond there, the sports complex, and then bring it right in through the backside.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask just a brief question? I'm looking at the agenda and it says, I want to make sure that just the wording's correct. When you're talking about entering into an agreement with Sky Fiber, that agreement is for the 47,540?
There's two parts to that. The 47,000 is to have them put in the fiber, correct?
Okay.
And then the monthly internet service fee.
And I just want to make sure that those agreements are with Sky Fiber because you have an attachment for an individual by the name of Doug Kyler. And I'm not sure if he's separate and apart from Sky Fiber agreements.
That was the second quote.
That
Okay.
was the second quote.
Thank you.
Oh, gotcha.
Thank you.
So our amount that we would be looking for within the budget somehow would be what, $55,340?
Well, there'd be 47,540 just for the installation. And then
You'd have
that,
an
I
additional
can,
7,800 over the course of the year,
Of the additional 600.
Right.
additional to what we're paying now.
I think he's got that in the
Yeah, I have
budget
that
already.
covered
It's
in
in the budget line item for broadband services.
Yeah, because you already have it in there for the.
Right.
For the internet service, yes.
So can you get out of the other contract?
They've have expired some time ago. We just been doing a month to month.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
So there will be a transition period to where the fiber comes on, we get everything working, test it out, and then we'll contact them and disconnect that. So there'll be a crossover period there, hopefully a month, maybe two.
Mr. Chairman, Rick, is there a additional hardware that has to be installed on the receiving end of that fiber? How does that work?
Yes, those are several other projects that we have been working on, and you guys previously approved the firewalls.
Yeah.
So this goes into some of our other projects that we have been designing.
So
up
those
over
are,
a
that's
period of
existing
time.
hardware that we've got
Yes.
coming. Okay.
But that's already been done on the
We've already
side there.
squared that
Yeah.
away.
And we did not, this wasn't in your budget last,
The 47,540 is not in the budget. You're correct.
and you're going to find room in your budget so that we're not going to have to augment this?
We believe we can do it. And
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you can do it. I mean, generally speaking, Rick's budgets are somewhere between 5 and 10% below, generally speaking, so we can easily accommodate it, assume he does the same thing. If not, through other general government, I've got a miscellaneous account that I use for these types of things. So we've got room
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
And working with Gina, we will continue to see if this would qualify. We should be able to get
Yeah.
that decision fairly soon. But in the meantime, the county would have to pay this going forward.
Right.
Yeah. No, I think, personally, I think having that redundancy in light of some of the issues we've seen in the recent past, I think it's probably a pretty safe bet that we should probably install that. You know, what's it worth to us if somebody cuts it or burns it up again? I think it makes perfect sense.
we're relying on the internet more and more every day.
Absolutely,
It just,
And you know, like you say, it's because this includes dispatch as well. So it's a public safety.
and the
issue.
courts.
And the courts. Yep. I think having a redundancy and a safety net for public safety communication side of it and the courts is reason enough to take it on.
Okay, any other?
With that, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we, there isn't any additional conversation on this. I would move that we,
This Commissioner Hill, I guess the comment what I would have is, you know, if it is a public safety thing, I think it's a good idea that
yeah,
we have a back loop for this. If something were to happen, we can keep our law enforcement and fire and everybody in communications.
yeah.
I think it's a direct public safety issue at this point. We know about it.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
I'd hate to be caught without any communication. This seems like a pretty easy fix.
Yeah, and it's happened to us in the past, so this is a fix.
It's a lot of money. I agree, as anything with communication seems to be an expensive thing for the county, but I think if we can improve our system, I'd be all for it.
Yeah. Well, with that, Mr. Chairman, I would move, as Commissioner French, I would move that we approve and enter into an agreement with Sky Fiber to install a secondary fiber access point at the sports complex communication site in the amount not to exceed $47,540, and to enter into a contract for monthly fiber service in the amount of $25.98 for a 3-year term.
I think you have to include the subject to the attorney office.
Yes, please.
The district attorney's office approval.
Right. I amend my motion to include that.
Okay, the motion is on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Motion passes. Okay. 1 to 15, Dave.
Yes, sir.
Humboldt County's response to Story County's position on Innovation Zone Bill Draft dated April 6, 2021. Consideration, discussion, possible action regarding innovation zones in Nevada and Humboldt County. Innovation zones were introduced to the state during the 2021 legislative session and drew opposition from many sectors. Story County has been the center of that discussion and has taken a position that the Humboldt County Commissioners may want to utilize as a basis for the discussion, to include a directive to the county manager to prepare a letter commenting on the innovation zones, and possibly a resolution outlining concerns of these innovation zones. This is for discussion and possible action.
So, Mr. Chair, as you know, during the 2021 legislative session, there was several bills actually that were introduced regarding these innovation zones. It was an idea of Governor Sisolak, along with Bitcoin and some other folks, to establish these innovation zones, which in and of itself, I looked at them, seemed like a pretty good idea, kind of really neat, futuristic. There was one big issue, though, from a county perspective, was this area, whatever or however big it might be, would not be part of that regular county or local government. It would establish them as their own government, own rules, own regulations. And the real question then becomes, let's say you have this massive influx of businesses, none of those taxes that go to support the roads and the sewers and would be collected by that county or even a local entity, like, for example, City of Winnemucca, which immediately causes a bit of a problem, because that entity, whether it's Humboldt County or Winnemucca, let's say it was going to be here, the county, city would be responsible for everything they already do, supporting all those people that work there potentially, and yet they would gain no taxes from it. So there's a lot of issues around that. And then the question is, would they be subject to the same laws as everybody else in the state? And with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner French. He's had intimate discussions with Story County commissioners and knows a lot more about it than I do. I've had quite a few discussions with my counterparts, and we have lots of concerns. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Commissioner French?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I asked to put this item on the agenda. I felt that in watching Story County run through the hoops during this legislative session, it became really apparent to me that it was a terrible idea. And secondly, it was it set a terrible precedent for other counties. And basically, what it would allow for the creation of almost a sovereign nation internally within our county. The intent with blockchain, when they initiated it in Story County, was to use in their all of their financial transactions would be in cryptocurrency. And the idea behind that, of course, is to skirt the ability for the counties and the state to actually collect taxes on a lot of the business activity that occurred within that. It also set in motion the notion that there, being a sovereign entity, that they would be exempted from a lot of the state and federal law that that almost all industry has to comply with. And that's not just tax related. That has to do with environmental issues. That has to do with water law. That has to do with public safety issues, OSHA requirements, those types of things. That all changes. Yeah, that all changes. And the reason that they actually pushed for this was that they wanted to skirt some of the issues that were on the table that were holding up their development in the blockchain development in Story County. I'll just say it. I was flabbergasted that our governor was all in on this. I'm still flabbergasted, because it is certainly not in the best interest of the state of Nevada, and it's certainly not in the best interest of the counties themselves, or the environment, or the folks that live in those counties. So at any rate, because this proposal is still out there, coming into the next legislative session, I felt that it was important for us to weigh in as a county as to the weigh in specifically on the items that were found in the legislation at this legislative session, so that we could be on record if this thing is reintroduced again in the next legislative session. They promised it will be so.
Commissioner French, did you join that meeting last Friday?
Which one?
Story County on this?
Actually, I was not last Friday, but I have been in contact with him several
Did
times.
they mention anything about water?
Yes, yes. That was a major stumbling point on the Tahoe Regional Industrial Center where they purchased that land. was
Because
water.
I know when this was on the bill drafts in the last legislative session until the governor pulled it away, there was talk of bringing water from Humboldt County.
As well as several other sources, but Humboldt County was one of them, yeah. It revitalized the pipeline coming out of the north end of the county, the Mud Meadow pipeline.
Yeah, I read through this letter and I didn't feel it was strong enough. It was like, we don't like the idea and sure hope you reconsider. Instead of hell no, we're not in favor at all of carving up our county and taking a piece of this out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't care what they say. I have no appetite at all to even consider looking at taking a piece of this county and forming a separate government here. Because we all know that, like you say, some of the people are going to live right in this community. Not everybody's going to live there.
That's right. All the ingress, egress, all of the public safety, they're not going to develop their own police departments. They're not going to develop their own city
Well, they won't
municipal
police
water
departments.
systems. And the thing that becomes frightening about it is that there is it sets a precedent for other locations. So you could we have a large private landowner in Humboldt County, a very large one with the New Nevada lands and all those alternate sections. And you could conceivably look at creating an innovation zone with any of those large tracts of land like that and circumvent absolutely everything within our master plan, circumvent the state's regulatory oversight, and even attempt to circumvent some of the federal law.
And if you got enough money, that's the bottom line. If you've got enough money,
You buy your own country.
You can buy your own country.
That's exactly what we said.
What would keep Nevada gold mines from?
Exactly right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
So were we going to write our own letter? Dave, is that?
Mr. Chair, Dave Mendiola. Yeah, so what I wanted to do is present you the Story County position in the letter and just give you some background, a foundation from which to work. I don't really think that we need to put that letter together today, but I want you to think about it, get it in the open. If you want to do it, what we can do is, based on your comments here, I'll put a letter together and then we'll represent it to you at another meeting, to get that before them.
Yeah. That was my intent, to put this on the agenda. I really felt we needed to weigh in on it, so.
And put our own letter together, bring it back to the commission for
Yep.
approval.
Yep.
If they're going to reconsider this, it's probably something that needs to be done, I guess.
I would be surprised if it doesn't end up on the next legislature.
Well, the governor just withdrew it is all he did.
Yeah, he just withdrew it because he didn't have the support for it. He thought he did, and at the end he didn't, so he withdrew it and appointed a committee to study it.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not dead.
Any other discussion on this? Anybody else have feelings?
what's
one way or
concerning
the
this,
other?
Commissioner Hill. What's concerning to me is that we even considering this type of action. What does that say about our system that we have in place in Nevada for trying to skirt around it? That's the most concerning thing to me is that what's on our books is.
That's funny you bring that up, Commissioner. I sitting around the board of directors table in NACO when we first heard this the first time, when it was first introduced, we had the exact same reaction with each other. This is a joke, right?
Right.
I can't hardly believe that we're even talking about this.
Right. Let's look at the real problems instead of creating creating a new, it's almost like, let's start over. We messed that up. Let's start over.
But it's probably good that you're friends with a multi-billionaire when you sit in his position, but to actually consider partnering with them, that's,
Yeah.
I would be in favor of Commissioner Cherry of writing a stronger opposition to it,
I'll have Dave write it. I'll sign it. But-
Okay.
whatever that looks like.
Okay.
Okay, can I get a motion?
Commissioner Hill, was that a motion?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. So the motion is to have our county manager write a letter which will be brought back to this commission for approval in regards to innovative zones. Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Buildings and grounds, request to approve request to approve to enter a service agreement with Premier Elevator Company. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval to enter into a service agreement with Premier Elevator Company in an amount not to exceed $16,000, and to authorize Enoch Grayton to sign the service agreement, which is subject to the district attorney's office review and approval. Discussion, possible action. Morning, Enoch. Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is Enoch Gaitan, Buildings and Grounds Department. Here I am to request to Commissioners to get approval to enter into service agreement with the Premier Elevators. This is for all 7 elevators the currently county has, that including quarterly inspection and an annual inspection. For them, I think the amount is $16,000.
That only includes, that's the contract, but there's additional costs for travel and that as well, right?
No, unless it is like an emergency repair. Yes.
Okay.
question. Do we have any history, I mean, or do we have anybody that we've been able to talk to that has a history with Premier to know how they perform?
Commissioner Enoch Gaitan. So Premier Elevator, he was the technician working for Schindler for 20 plus years. So he ended up to open his own business. So he's the person he always come to check our elevators in the past 20 something years, the same person. So he's decided to open his own business. So that's why I went to go with him, because he put a knowledge in our elevators. In the past, when he did that transition from leaving Schindler and going to his own business, we have a little issue with one of the elevators. And the Schindler sent another technician, which he didn't know what he was doing or what he was looking for. So he ended up to call to this other person to ask him some advice, which this person, he told over the phone what he needed to be done, and he fixed the problem. So I really feel confidence to go with Premier Elevator.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Thanks. And this is Commissioner French. In the past, we've had elevator service contracts in your budget. And I'm just wondering, is this is a replacement for those contracts, or we just had those contracts have lapsed and we just haven't been using those services recently, or is that how this is going? Or
no, this is just the annual contract. We renew this every year.
Yeah. So this is just a renewal.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this is the renewal, but going with different company.
Right. Agreed.
lower.
So the
lower.
$16,000 is, that's within your projection for your budget,
Yes.
so it's covered.
You know, like I see in here that they also, contract is to provide service to maintain the elevators at Convention Center. I thought the WCVA and them paid for that stuff and got their own contractors. Am I wrong?
That's correct. It's been done this way for
Has it?
so long. Yes, this is not just me. This is being coming from 20-something year. So I just continue because it's all related. It was cheaper to combine all in once instead of breaking down in different areas.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Dave Mendiola for the record. So years ago in talking with some of the people involved in this, actually with Doug at the time, they decided to kind of put them all under one because of economies of scale. So if the convention center went out, they only had a few, we have a few. So you got two different contracts, cost is much greater. So by combining them together, they save money to do it. That was the reason for doing it.
I guess it saves money, but comes out of different pockets.
Right. And I think that, I don't know that we've ever shared that cost. So that's something we can certainly look at with WCVA. We do that for pretty much everything else, so.
Well, it looks like the contract is considerably cheaper with this company than with the other one.
Schindler elevator. Yes. So Schindler elevator originally gave me a proposal only for 2 visited and an annual inspection. I think for little over $17,000. This Premier elevator, they gave me 4 visit plus the annual inspection for $16,000. So I went back and asked Schindler, can you give me a proposal for 4 visit and an annual inspection? That was their price, $32,004.
And you've had trouble getting them here too when you needed them, sounds like, huh?
I'm sorry?
Have you had trouble getting them to do the services and show up when you need them?
Yes, in the past 3 years and then this recent year, yeah, it was
been
not a
good, huh?
good thing. So
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
you know, when did the Premier Elevator Company start? How long has it been since this guy left Schindler?
I would say 4 to 6 months.
Just recently.
Yes. So, yeah, he's licensed in Nevada and everything. So he got all the proof that he can perform the job in Nevada.
And the business is centered where? In Reno,
They're from Idaho.
Idaho?
Yes. Yeah. It is another company, I think, in Reno. I never didn't invite them because I think like 3 or 4 years ago, we haven't quote from them, but I lost their track and then didn't find the person what I was talking back then. So
This is only for a 1-year contract, right? So
yeah, that's I want to have question for Wendy. And the contract stayed only 1 year, but can we change stuff from 1 to 3 years?
I mean, if they want to, we could.
personally, I'm being a new company that's only 4 to 6 months old. I'd like to try them out before we get into a long-term contract with them.
I would agree.
Yeah, definitely. His price, it's nobody can beat it right now because he's new and then he want to get customers and which he had pretty much all this area right now because Schindler has been expensive and yeah, if we can change from 1 to 3, just to lock that company.
And I Wendy Maddox, for purpose of the records. I haven't looked at this, this agreement yet, but it is attached to the agenda. So if we make major changes to it, we will need to bring it back before the board.
I think we ought to just do the 1 year for this year. If they work out,
Yeah.
still in business next year, we'll.
This Commissioner Hill, I just have a comment, I guess. So this guy broke off from Schindler, started his own company
Yes,
and has vast knowledge of all of our elevator systems.
yes.
You feel comfortable working with this guy and you're comfortable with what he has set up?
Yes, I've been 16 years working here, and then every time when he's come doing his inspection, I always with him because I'm the person who was walking through, and I seen him put a knowledgeable person about our elevator. He find the problem really quick.
I guess my personal experience or take on it would be this guy's starting out, he's new, he's probably pricing things a little low to get customers. It is a risk to the county to maybe enter into a 3-year contract if this guy doesn't make it. But on the other side of the coin, if he's as knowledgeable as you say, he's probably going to be very successful. There could come a point where we don't even touch this guy and we're back at Schindler. So, the other, I guess, risk would be we do enter into a 3-year contract and there's an advantage to the county for doing that because we're getting him at his cheap price. But I can see both sides. If we were to enter into a 3-year agreement, we would save the county some money over the next couple of years because I would assume he would honor those prices. If we don't enter into a 3-year agreement, we just do a 1-year, this guy's company takes off and we sign an agreement next year, it might be double by then. So
True.
that's stuff to look at, I guess. I guess I would go with Enoch on this. If you feel comfortable with this guy and you think he's trustworthy and you think he has a sound business, I would be all for a 3-year agreement.
Gaitan Buildings and Grounds. So we recently, I think last month, we have our annual inspection with Schindler. So one of those elevators at the indoor event center, we have an issue with that. So this technician, he couldn't find the problem. So I end up to call to the premier person, and then I hand the phone to the other technician and kind of help him out troubleshooting over the phone, which they couldn't. It's not the same doing over the phone.
Right.
So Schindler stepped back and said, I can find the problem, but the annual inspection is done. But the inspector, it didn't approve the whole thing because they have an issue with the elevator. So I end up to call him to the premier and say, hey, can you come and look at it, see what's going on with the elevator? He came, same next day, he found the problem. He fixed it quick. And I took the picture over the phone to the inspector, and inspector, they approved and finalized the inspection.
Yeah, and I bet he is a great mechanic, but we don't know if he's a businessman.
Well,
He can, the best mechanic doesn't know they can be the worst businessman too. Doing the job and keeping a business afloat is two different things.
Yeah.
So.
and this agreement, when I read through it, is a 1-year agreement. I think, rather than going back through and trying to change everything, because as Ms. Maddox said, we would have to change the agreement.
All right.
Right now, what we have in front of us is a 1-year agreement that we could approve today if we so choose. I guess what's the reasoning behind going 3 other than maybe trying to save the county some money and getting this guy locked up? Is that what you're trying to?
Well, the reason behind that is just to have the person and not going back and getting more quotes, because obviously Schindler and other company in Reno, they're going to be higher price. Otherwise, if this premier following year, their price is going to exceed the Schindler price, so obviously I'm going to go after and find other quotes. But I keep it in loop and see what's their price will be in the next couple of years.
So for us to go 3-year contract right now, we have to reschedule this thing and we have to reconsider this contract.
Yes.
I think in the interest of getting these people on board, I think we should probably go with a 1-year contract. You can have conversations and say, listen, we're going to evaluate your service and we'll talk to you in a year. Maybe the next one will be a 3-year contract.
That's fine.
I think that's
Yeah.
probably reasonable.
That's the safe bet for sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask one more point of clarification? The term in the agreement says June 30th through June 29th. Are you still wanting that same term? So it's going to be, have you been using him since June?
No, we using Schindler. That was the last one. So,
Oh,
so this is start with them for this current year right now.
okay.
Because Schindler, their contract was ended in June 30th, I think. June 30th, Schindler, their contract was ended June 30th, but their inspection was in August, I think, a third.
And I believe it said June 30th of 2022, so you still have some months left with them. Have you gone through the procedure in the contract to terminate services?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Dave Mendiola for the record. So have you called Premier or anybody for service since the end of that contract with Schindler?
Oh, yes, yeah, like I just was explaining the when Schindler, they come and do the
Most
inspection. Yeah, the mechanic, they couldn't find that issue with that.
That would be my only question is if I'm assuming we just paid them for time and materials.
Yes, just for
Okay.
time material, yeah.
Then I would just suggest that if you are going to approve it, that we make it starting today, for example, versus August 1st, because we've already lost a month. Unless that was in that month of August
Mhm.
and they're going to bill us as part of the contract, maybe that would make sense if they're willing to do that. But if we've already paid them for their service, then I think we should start it with maybe today's date or as the start date
With Premier?
with Premier.
Does that make sense to you, Enoch?
Yes,
Start now,
yes.
today?
I can take a stab at this if you want. Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner French. I would move that we grant approval to enter into a service agreement with Premier Elevator Company in an amount not to exceed $16,000 starting September 20th, and to authorize Enoch Galton to sign the service agreement, which is subject to the District Attorney's Office review and approval.
Motion's on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. We are almost at 10, 5 more minutes. Do we have a short
Maybe
one
we can
here?
take a 5-minute break.
That'd be
Want to take a break? Okay.
That'd be
good.
perfect.
Let's do that. Take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back to our, what do you call it? Zone requests? Or public hearings, public hearings. Mark, how are you? Good. Good. Yep. So I got a horseback this week. Now I can't walk. I got my back busted here 10 years ago. It was one thing when I busted it, now that I'm 10 years older. I only busted it 10 years ago.
My wife is struggling with her right now. She just got a decision about that long. She did more. Yeah, she used two of her vertebrae.
Yeah, so you told me. She's still bedridden?
She's walking. You know, you call us walking. But it's a good show. She's hauling. But she's definitely up. She's moving now. The good news is that all of the pain that you're experiencing right now, including all the sciatica and everything, that's all gone now.
Oh, that's good. Sometimes it don't work.
Yeah.
I love that surgery.
Well, they told her, no uncertain terms, Blade. These are the things you have to do for the first, for the first 12 weeks. And if you don't, if that bone fusion fails, you're going to be back here again.
Yeah.
She's been real religious about doing it. So Tom's pretty sick then.
That's what he said last night. He called me to tell me he wasn't gonna make it. He said, he says, I can't even keep a glass of water down. He says, it's been that way since our last meeting. Sounded like a report. We'll reconvene our meeting. And start, we're going to go back to item 10, which is set to public hearing, nuisance complaint. Consideration, discussion, and possible approval to set to public hearing for the October 18, 2021 Humboldt County Commission meeting at 10 a.m. per Humboldt County Code HCC 8.04.010. A nuisance complaint filed against the property located at 7140 Jackson Road, Winnemucca, Nevada, owned by Don L. Sakurada, Assessor's parcel number 13-0541-16. Discussion possible action. This is a set 2.
Mr. Chair, Dave Mendiola for the record. I think we do have a guest here, Mark Evitz. If you want to come up, Mark, and he's just got a few comments he wanted to make.
Okay.
Morning.
Good morning. For the record, it's Evitz.
Evitz, sorry. What did I say?
Evitz.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Good morning. Thanks for, I understand this is a set to date line item, but I just wanted to take a second to introduce myself. I'm the one that initiated the nuisance complaint against a long-time neighbor, Don Sakurada. I'm the first one to say I don't like it when people butt into my business inside my fence line and my gate, but going on a couple of years since this place unfortunately caught fire and burned, there's been no effort, or at least visible effort, to see anything being done to remediate the burned out damage, i.e. clean things up, and then to initiate some kind of a rebuild. So it's become quite an eyesore. The property was being somewhat cared and maintained in terms of watering, et cetera. But that's gone away this summer and it's pretty much died out. And now some feral cats have moved in. So it's just one of those issues that I wanted to take some action on, I think in a prudent manner as a property owner, and it's impacting what I believe the property values in and around my place. So I look forward to the hearing. I've offered to help Don secure a contractor. I've offered to help him clean up the yard and take care of some of the issues and trying to be neighborly, but there just doesn't seem to be much. I seem to be more interested in getting the issue resolved than the property owner does. So I look forward to participating in the hearing and being open and honest and seeing what we can do to clean up the issue. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay, this is set 2. Can I have a motion to set this to public hearing, please?
And Mr. Chairman, as Commissioner French, I would move that we to approve a set to public hearing for the October 18th, 2021 Humboldt County Commission meeting at 10 a.m.
I'm not sure. Could we leave the date open just in case we have any issues with publication? Because this does have to publish a certain number of times and be served.
Sure.
Thank
I
you.
amend my motion to that effect. This is as per Humboldt County Code HCC 8.04.010. This is a nuisance complaint filed against property located at 7140 Jackson Road, owned by Don L. Sakurada, Cecil's parcel number 13-0541-16.
Okay. Motion is on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Okay, so that takes us to our next this is public hearing. Consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve RH-20-12, a rezone request submitted by Ann Shrimp to change the CH Highway Commercial designation to RR-1.25 on property located at 4765 Pond Drive. Assessor's parcel numbers 13-0053-25 and approval of bill number 08-323-21 to amend ordinance 6-1-78A, thereby changing the uses of what said portion may be put, amending the land use map of Humboldt County's zoning district and boundary map, and other matters properly related thereto. Discussion and possible action. Who would like to take this?
So, Mr. Chair, Betty is not here for this today. In looking over the staff report, the RPC did vote to recommend approval to the Humboldt County Commissioners of this zone change. It does conform with that area already. So most of those surrounding properties are zoned rural ranchette 1.25, And so this is in alignment with that. So other than that, I don't know what much else to tell you on that.
I'm not seeing, no indication there was any opposition to this.
Correct, yeah. They
I
had
just-
no responses.
I just have one comment. This is Commissioner Hill. I was contacted by a couple of citizens in that area. I know we've done a couple of these over the last couple of months for the same area. One of the questions that was brought to me was Deborah Lane, an easement on Deborah Lane. They've apparently been using Deborah Lane to access some of these properties, and there seems to be some contention out there of if we can use Deborah Lane, we can't use Deborah Lane. I understand there was a fence put up, then a fence tore down. So this person that contacted me had concerns about accessing these properties from Deborah Lane. I guess we'll just leave it at that. But so I don't know where it goes from here or what, but I just know I was contacted and there was some seems to be
Was
some,
there conversation, I wonder, on the RPC relative to the,
I don't
relative to
know
that
I
issue?
don't know.
Wendy Maddox, purpose of the record, I didn't cover this meeting. Another deputy did, so I can't answer to that.
Yeah, and I'm a little surprised that the individual's not here either. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know that. Yeah.
I think that's a big deal, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm surprised that we haven't had people with opposition as they,
Yeah.
didn't show up at the
And I don't
meeting.
know this conversation that I had, if it was so much of an opposition or wanted more of an
Clarification.
answer. They wanted an answer. Can you use Deborah Lane to access Pond Drive through these properties or can you not? And just through the conversation, I guess there was a fence put up, then a fence was ripped down, and then, some stuff happened.
Didn't we have some folks come in here and complain about Deborah Lane having to do with a chunk of land up there? Seems like there was a problem with an access issue in Deborah Lane a year ago or so that we dealt with.
And
Is Deborah Lane the only access?
No, Pond Drive is the front of these properties, and then Deborah Lane would kind of skirt the back of these properties and turns up towards the highway there. But
Well, what is our option with regard to this being a public hearing and whatnot, as far as setting this decision aside until we have better information? Because I'm feeling kind of froggy about making a decision on this without having those folks that contacted you, Commissioner, describing what their concern is.
Commissioner?
Hang on.
Hi, this is Karen Johnson at the Building Department. I know a little bit about this. What happened is they came in and they requested an address off Deborah Lane. So I gave them an address off Deborah Lane, and then Betty contacted me, and one of the people that lived on the road, and to tell you the truth, I don't remember their name, said that Deborah was a private road and gave Betty information that said it was a private easement. And so after I found that out, then we contacted the owners of this piece of property and told them that there was a private easement in place and that they would have to have an address off of Pond. So we took the address off of Deborah Lane and we turned around and addressed it on to Pond. They are aware of the easements, and so I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, it was taken care of when we readdressed off of Pond.
so would this parcel that we're talking about rezoning, would not have any access off of Deborah Lane? Is that correct?
Well, I mean, they could. We're not going to, that would be more a legal question. But we as the building department and the planning department said that they have to access off of Pond.
This is Commissioner Cherry. When this went to the Regional Planning Commission, was it with the new address, the Pond Drive access?
This is Karen Johnson of the building department. I believe so, yes, because we definitely, we quit using the pond drive. And if I look at the public hearing, it does say pond drive on the public hearing. So I'm pretty sure when it went to the regional commission, it said pond drive.
Correct. On the actual staff report, it does say there's a section for access, and it says access to the property is from Pond Drive.
Okay. So basically at this point, it's more of, and then Wendy could do more than this, to say more than this, but you know, it's more of a kind of a civil legal thing if the other people don't want them to use Deborah and they continue to use it. You know, as far as the building department is concerned and the planning department concerned, they do have access to that parcel from Pond Drive, and that's the address that we gave them.
I guess Commissioner French, or I guess to everybody, this Commissioner Hill, by us rezoning this, I don't think that clears up any of the issues that were brought to me, that the land's still there, whether it's rural ranchette or commercial. By us rezoning it, it doesn't change
Right.
any of the civil issues that may be going on over there. You know, other than it puts this property in a position to where they can build on it. But it's in a position right now where they could build on it. They just might not be able to build.
Yeah, the fact that there was a fence built to try to protect a piece of property that was removed so that they could maintain access off of away from Pond Drive indicates to me that there's an issue there. And the fact that we don't have anybody in this room to talk about that, I'm still uncomfortable with taking an action on this at this stage.
Mr. Chairman, the property adjacent to this piece of property is owned by the same people. That connects with Deborah Lane. And the property next to that is a relative, so I don't know where that road off of Deborah Lane would come to, but it connects to the piece that's in question today.
And Wendy Maddox, purposes of the record, I just want to point out, based on the staff report, that there's certain things, really as Commissioner Hill pointed out, that you're looking at as a board, and whether or not this issue, perhaps it's a civil issue, I'm not sure, between landowners, but regardless of the answer on either side, it shouldn't affect your findings that you're required to make today as part of zoning or impact your decision. And so just to reference what findings you're looking at whether this action, this zone change, will be detrimental to properties surrounding or adjacent to the area. In the staff report, Betty Lawrence had received no information that it would be detrimental. Additionally, you're looking at whether the zone change will adversely affect the public health, safety, and general welfare of that area. When this was presented to the Regional Planning Commission, Betty had received no information this would adversely affect that area. And then lastly, you're looking at whether the proposed zone will have an effect on existing developed land use pattern in the immediate area. And in regards to that, in the staff report, she indicated that she had no information as to that finding that would negatively impact the area.
With regard to that, Wendy, we did receive, though, information just now that there is an issue with that. You know, irregardless of whether it was in the staff reports or not, we still have information in this public hearing that there is an issue apparently, you know, coming off of Deborah Lane, having to do with people who have called the commissioner, voiced a complaint relative to a fence going up and coming back down. That still exists.
Right. My point is that Wendy Maddox, purpose of record, regardless of what it was owned before, what it's changed to, you're still going to have that issue. There's still going to be that issue. It's independent of changing the zoning of that district. It's kind of my point, but.
Well, it is and it isn't, though. I mean, you know, the whole issue of the zone change and the change of that property up there has to do with the development of that land, which would could significantly increase the issue from Deborah Lane if that is not resolved ahead of that, I guess is what I'm saying.
And we can definitely, if you want to wait and take this at a different time, we can do that. It would just require that we have to reset. We may have to do a future set to public hearing on an agenda as well as publish for another public hearing. And we can do that if that's what the board likes.
And let me make some clarification. This Commissioner Hill, the person that approached me wasn't so concerned about the zoning change as getting some direct clarification on what Deborah Lane was to be used for, and which properties Deborah Lane was to be used to legally access. So I guess with that being said, I just wanted to be clear that that person wasn't coming to me in opposition of a zone change by any means, but wanted clarification on what Deborah Lane was to be used for and what accesses were granted off of Deborah Lane.
Regardless of whether we do it today or next meeting, that issue is still going to be there, whether that access is available
Yes.
to the property owner or not. And I'm having a little problem with, I realize they called or talked to Commissioner Hill, but they had a problem with us. They should have came here today. So
Completely agree. You know, I guess my job as a commissioner is to gather information and listen to people and bring it to you, and that's what I know.
Well, your comments are perfect, and as is Commissioner Cherry's comment, and I guess I'm not saying for the record here that I have made a decision one way or the other on this. I'm just feeling a little bit uncomfortable because I don't think I have all the information on this yet, and maybe I do have it, but there's enough of a question here that I would definitely like to have the people in the room that are being affected by this decision come up and talk about it. So, you know, I guess my feelings still remain the same. I mean, the folks that the Shrimp family, as well as anybody who may have questions that they want resolved on this thing, I think this is when we're supposed to do that. You know?
Mr. Chairman?
yes.
I feel like this comes to us for 4765 Pond Drive, and I really don't see what issue Deborah Lane has with it. I think that's a separate issue than the rezone is. And we don't have anyone here that is concerned about it at a public hearing. That's what our public hearings are for. And our planning commission has recommended approval, and I think you have to have something pretty serious to go against what the planning commission's recommendations are. And so they didn't have a problem going through the planning commission. They're not here today. I just don't see a problem with going forward with it.
I guess another thing to note, this Commissioner Hill again, 1300 3, sorry, 1300 5326, I believe, was one of the ones we approved in the previous meeting. And that directly backs Deborah Lane if it doesn't take a chunk of Deborah Lane out. I'm wondering if that isn't the property that might be causing some contention. The one that we're looking at today is to the, I guess it'd be to the west of that one. Part of this property we're talking about today doesn't even touch Deborah Lane, so
it really doesn't matter?
I don't think it really matters.
Contingent on this action?
Yeah, on the action we're going to take today. I guess I would probably side with Commissioner Tipton on this. You know, we're talking about a Pond Drive address. None of this property we're talking about today borders any of Deborah Lane. However, the 1300 5326 does border Deborah Lane. And that could be where there's some issues in a previous action that we took, but I think what's in front of us today is not going to affect any of that issue that we have. We may end up going back on something that we already approved, but I think the one in front of us today, and without any support from the public to come in here and offer any feedback on it, I would be for moving with this.
With that being said, would you like to make a motion?
Sure.
Public comment.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, before we go with my motion, do we have any public comment? It'd be online or on the phone? See anything, Dave?
I don't.
One last time, is there any public comment? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion. Commissioner Hill, would you like to make a motion?
This is Commissioner Hill. I would move that we approve RH 20-12, a rezone request submitted by Ann Shrimp to change the CH Highway Commercial designation to rural ranchette 1.25 on property located at 4765 Pond Drive, assessor parcel number 1300-0053-25, and approval of bill number 08-23-21 to amend the ordinance 6178A, thereby changing the uses to which said portion may be put, amending the land use map of Humboldt County zoning district and boundary map and other matters properly related thereto.
Okay, we have a motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Yeah, where did we leave?
Let's see here. I think we left off at 19 would be our next one, I believe. Or no, I'm sorry.
17.
One more in there, 17, yes.
17, huh? 17, Nevada Rural Housing Authority to access city county property for environmental assessment. Consideration, discussion, possible approval of a request from Nevada Rural Housing Authority, NRHA, on behalf of McGinley and Associates to access 2 parcels of land owned jointly by the county and the city of Winnemucca. McGinley and Associates will conduct a Phase 1 environmental site assessment and Phase 2 ESA for the Nevada Brownfields program, pending approval by the District Attorney's Office. The parcels are located east of US 95 near Sage Heights Drive and identified as APN 10-0213-01 and 10-0213-02. McKinley will access the sites and collect soil and groundwater samples from the parcels. Discussion and possible action. I'd like to take this.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I will have Jan Morrison take this. I think Jan's on the line here, but generally speaking, this is the property just off of US 95 that borders some residences there that city and county both own. There was talk, and it's actually still being looked at by Nevada Rural Housing as a potential site for some apartments. They're looking at quite a few other parcels in town as well. But no matter, this is a parcel that we believe has some kind of hazardous waste was dumped there in the past. We just don't know what it is. So this would have to be done if the city and county ever decided to do anything with it, whether it was a park or a school or an apartment complex, whatever it might be. So we have the ability through the grant process, through USDA, to get funds to do this at no cost, and we'll get an assessment of what's there. That's essentially the goal of this. Jan, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I think you've covered everything. Just want to emphasize that we have other parcels we're going to be showing them, but the opportunity to have this done for free is something that's actually pretty good. So that's all that is. It doesn't indicate that they are zeroing in on that because they're using grant funds also, Brownsfield's grant funds.
And may I just state that Stacy Sept with Nevada Rural Housing Authority is online. So if you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Who's that?
Great, thank you.
What's her name?
Hang on.
Who was that?
Who was that?
The second voice.
Stacy Sept, NRHA.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Stacy, for being on. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
This is
Go ahead, Commissioner Hill.
This Commissioner Hill. So this cleanup effort could possibly be paid for by the Brownfields grant. Is that correct?
Well, we have to do some environmental testing And then we would determine what kind of issues there may be on that site. And then we would have to go from there and determine what the costs associated with that work is. And we may be able to get a portion covered under brownfields. And then there may be some additional funds needed from the city and county. It just depends on what the findings are, but we have to go through the ESA first. And then it's regardless of whether NRHA continues to work with the city and county on this property, it's best to know what the issues may be so that the city and county can handle in the future. Yes. And once you go through brownfields, there's a better chance for additional funding in for use in the future as well.
Okay, so it states on the brownfields grant portion of this, of their website, that these sites are not eligible if they're currently owned by the party responsible for the contamination. I'm not sure if the county's responsible for that old dump up there, or if it would be federal. I don't know that. Maybe you guys know that.
I do not know that, but we can clarify.
I don't think I've ever seen it happen that way.
Okay, but I just wanted to make it public, I guess, that
Okay.
sites will not be eligible if they are currently owned by the party responsible for this contamination. So that could be a roadblock in the brownfields grant program.
Yep.
Okay, it should become clarified in the ESA. Yeah, because they will look back in records to see who the previous owners were and who the current owners are, and make the determination as to who would be responsible, whether it be government and or city, county. It'll be determined in the ESA.
So if we were to do some sort of assessment here and the Brownsfield were to deny this, then who picks up the bill for where we are thus far in the process?
So the ESA, the surveys are going to be covered. What we do from there, what the city and county do from there, it's all dependent on what the survey determines.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Chair. When I look at this, to me, what I see is just an end run around what the property owners in that area have voiced their opinion on. Nevada Rural Housing Group wants to build, they call it median income apartments, but we all know as soon as housing does come available, that those will end up being low-income apartment buildings in an area that's zoned to Ag 5. We had a meeting a couple of months ago, and a good share of the property owners showed up at that meeting. I have not talked to any of them that were in favor of going forward with something like that. And it kind of brings back to mind what we had going on in Paradise when we wanted to use a piece of county property to go forward with a rental building. Personally, I think there's no need to pursue this. I think it should be a no action item.
Wouldn't you prefer to know what the issues may be on that site, regardless of whether you continue to work with NRHA or not? Specifically to allow true information to be shared with the residents in the area. NRHA and the city and county have not gotten to next steps. At this point, it would be a benefit to the city and county to know whether you have an issue there or not, regardless of whether you continue to work with NRHA on that property.
Well, if we know, then what? Then we have to pay to clean it up?
Not unless you have a particular use in mind and or you move to approve the transfer of the land.
I'm not one for looking for problems, but.
I agree. I think our effort should be spent on looking at another piece of ground. I think if we're going to do an assessment on a piece of ground, let's use a piece of ground that we know we can use and leave this one alone.
If at some point another use were to come up, and people were in favor of it, then I'd say we approach it at that time to do something. We don't need to look to spend any money just to spend money.
I agree. No motion.
Motion.
It doesn't, what do we have to do here? Do we have to approve
To
anything?
die without a lack of a motion.
Yeah.
Correct. You can just set it aside if you'd like.
It doesn't look like there's an appetite to do anything at this time, so we'll set this aside for now.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, 18, BLM preliminary environmental assessment for Jackson Mountain Wild Horse Gather. County Commission comment letter. Consideration, discussion, possible approval of a letter offering comments to the BLM preliminary Jackson Mountain Wild Horse Gather environmental assessment EA and authorizing Humboldt County Manager Dave Mendiola to sign the letter. The county supports the adoption of the proposed action, which is recommending gathering and removing excess wild horses and burros from within the Jackson Mountain herd management area. Discussion and possible action.
Mr. Chair, Dave Mendiola, for the record. This, of course, is part of a series of gathers that the BLM is attempting to do. This one happens to be in our backyard. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Commissioner French to give you some details on it.
Yeah, as Commissioner French, for the record, this is consistent with the BLM state 5-year wild horse plan. And it is an aggressive proposal, and it will be followed by additional.
Green cards, these are green and white.
Hang on here.
Okay. Okay.
What are we doing?
Trying to mute somebody here.
We've got some parking issues outside.
Okay, yeah, it's an aggressive move on the part of the Bureau, and it is, I think is a good sign is what's coming. I don't believe that the proposal as it is written right now is going to take it down to AML, but it is a good start to get it down to that point. And I think it's in our best interest to go ahead and support it and support the Bureau as they try to move forward with implementing their 5-year plan.
Yeah, are you finished, Commissioner French? Do you have anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Well, in light of conditions this year on the ranges, and not only for the benefit of the resources out there, but for the health and condition of these horses, I'm sure a gather is necessary. And I think that we definitely should be sending a letter supporting the BLM gather.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. We've had this problem. It's been a growing problem. We have a chance now maybe to at least start to nibble away at it and move towards getting back to AML. Anything we can do to help that, I think is prudent.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Any other comments? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, this is Commissioner French. I would move that we approve a letter offering comments to the BLM preliminary Jackson Mountain Wild Horse Gather EA and authorize Humboldt County Manager Dave Mendiola to sign the letter.
Okay. Motion is on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimously. We didn't skip anything, did we, Dave?
Nope. I think we got them all caught up.
This seems way too early.
What happened?
I know.
Did I skip a page?
All right.
Okay, so that brings us to future agenda items.
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, so obviously we're going to bring back the public hearing And so we'll do that depending upon when we have to post and how long and all that. It might be as early as October 18th, but probably more like November, that first meeting in November. And then the only other one that came out of this meeting here, as far as agenda items, I don't have anything else except for that Deborah Lane. I'll check into that, see if I can figure out what that's about. And so,
And I can give you some contact info for,
yeah,
if you
we'll
want
we'll connect with Betty when she gets back and we can ask her about that. So, did you have something else, sir? Oh, yes, the letter on the innovation zones. I'm sorry. That one we do need to bring back as well.
Commissioners, any other one? Future agenda item?
Where do we stand with regard to the issues having to do with the short-term holding proposal? And
So that letter went out after the special meeting that we had on, what was it, Wednesday last week? So the letter's out. We did get word back that they've extended the time period for comments.
I saw that.
Yeah, so that I haven't heard back on cooperating agency, but I did get a call from Kathleen Reberg in the Winnemucca field office. So I'll give her a call back today. That may be what that's about on the being a cooperating agency.
Yep. Okay.
What did you say, Dave, that you heard that we got cooperating agency, or?
No, I have not heard on that one.
Heard that we got extension?
We did get an extension. Yeah, but I have not heard on the cooperating, but I got a call from Kathleen Reberg. So about that, I had called her right after the meeting and asked to talk about what we need to do to get us the contract to do so. And I'm assuming that's what she called me about. So.
Okay. Anything else?
Any updates on McDermott?
Yeah, so we've got some work has been done by Far West Engineering as far as some options to connect across US 95. The two options that they looked at weren't very good. They were going to require a lift station in there, which is, pretty expensive. Lift stations run a couple $100,000 just by themselves. So we're still looking at a couple things and revisiting some things to maybe even possibly reconnect the original spot. But obviously there's some issues with that. So we are working through it, and we'll come back. What I said was we really need to have the options presented to us, even if it's a additional costly effort, because we need to know all the options. Plus we have other issues we need to fix, and if we can fix them by doing that, that would be good.
So stop me if I'm going too far, Wendy, but got an email from her that said that she went to court on it, and the judge told her that she had at least a temporary right of way and could reconnect.
I haven't heard that. That's news to me.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either, but I saw the email though, yeah.
I thought that was in an email.
Got it last week.
Do you know if it was Judge Montero that issued that order?
6th Judicial Court.
Oh, he
He's
did? Okay.
recused himself, yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
Maybe we could get minutes and see what happened. 'Cause I doubt there'd be an order.
Has that judge made any kind of determination on that?
They hadn't, but I was gone last week.
Oh.
They had filed an ex parte motion for some sort of restraining order, but I don't know what the status on that is.
Supposedly it was violated.
Yeah. Yeah, I just hadn't heard anything. I knew that they had filed on that, but.
I got the case in my phone.
As far as any of the defendants on that.
Okay.
The hotel is still shut down as of yesterday. I drove by there and it has a sign that says temporary closed. So
Yeah.
it's been well over a month now.
And how is the case going, nuisance complaint going in Paradise Hill?
It's going well. Our office is still working on putting a case together. I I've had some time in the last few weeks to work on it, and I'm waiting for some direction from my boss. It's on his desk.
I'm assuming that we will be hearing from them people again if we don't.
Yeah, I agree.
As I mentioned.
And I have, just so you know, reached out to some of them, been in contact with them. I haven't made it through the entire list, but there's, as you'll recall, several 10 to 20 people, maybe more, that sign their names to it, that I'm having reach out to the sheriff's office to complete written statements for us.
Okay. Anything else?
So, this is Commissioner Hill, I'm registered for NACO next week.
Correct.
Also, can you
Yes, next week.
give us a rundown of kind of how that works, since I've never been there?
Yeah, so they start on Tuesday. Meeting runs Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday is usually a day where, in the past, new commissioners like yourself would go in, and there's 2 power courses you can take.
But they're not.
They're doing them virtually.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to do that, you could still do that virtually. That's an all-day affair. So that's all you do all day is you're in that classroom. If you decide to do that, that's part of that certified public official program.
Okay.
You can do that later on too, so you don't have to do it then. And then there is a regular meeting. It's on some juvenile services. I believe it is that day. I can't remember what the title was on that. But and then later on that afternoon, people start arriving. There's a potential golf tournament. I think they're going to cancel that because not enough people got in. But then that night, there's a presidential reception. So you want to get there for that. That starts at usually 6 o'clock. And that's just kind of a welcome. And there's hors d'oeuvres and, beverages and that kind of thing. And it's a chance to kind of meet some of the other folks, commissioners and some county managers and other people that show up for that. And then the big meeting starts on Wednesday morning. And there's usually the opening ceremonies and a keynote speaker on that. And then they do breakout sessions later in the morning. So there's 2 different sessions you can go to get some educational updates on some different things. And they have the same thing in the afternoon. So you choose which one you want to go to. What we've done in the past is that whoever's there, you take this one, I'll take this one type thing. That way you gain information and we all share it with the commission when we get back. And then that happens again. Well, let me go back. Wednesday night is the dinner and award ceremony. So they'll award like past president or Mr. French and stuff like that. So they'll give out some specific awards, introduce the incoming president for NACO, and then they do quite a few other things too. So that's always a lot of fun. Again, another chance to get a good meal and meet a lot of the other commissioners and be able to share information. And then Thursday morning, same thing, breakout session. There is a NACO board meeting. If you want to attend that, I usually do that. That's a great chance to kind of get some good information. That starts, about 9 on that one? 9 o'clock. And then they'll do one last 2 breakouts in the morning on Thursday morning. And then for those of you who signed up, and I think we all signed up for the Fallon Naval Air Base tour, which I really wanted to see that. That's the Top Gun place. So I wanted to go out and see that and get a sense of what that place was like. And then we come home.
Okay.
After that.
Perfect.
That's this week?
Next week.
I did not sign up for it, and I may make it down one day, and I'd just pay if I go down.
Let me know if you do.
Okay.
And I'll work my magic with Amanda. We'll get you in. I think they'll let you in, I'm sure.
I think I had some conflicts that I couldn't do it, so I told Michelle not to sign me up ahead of time.
Okay. Yeah, just let me know. As a matter of fact, if you know when like Thursday, is that what, or Wednesday, excuse me? Is that when you'd come down?
I have to go back.
But just let me know and I'll get that taken care of.
So Tuesday night is the dinner where.
Yeah, the awards dinner.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Wednesday, isn't it?
Yeah, Wednesday's the award dinner.
Wednesday, yeah, excuse me.
Yeah,
The
Tuesday's
President's reception is Tuesday.
Right.
Because you weren't able to get your award last year because of COVID, are they going to be given?
Yeah, but Marilyn Kirkpatrick said since she's going out as president this year, and I missed the award ceremony last year because of COVID, we're going to have a hell of a shebang, is what she says.
So
it's I just would say, probably the most beneficial part of this whole thing for me, and I think Ron would probably agree, is that the connections you make.
Right.
And, the associations you make with other counties and commissions. Boy, I'll tell you what, our relationship with Clark County and Washoe County and whatnot, that comes from that. And so we've been really, they've been really good folks to work with. I think it's well worthwhile.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, then that public comment. Is there anyone who'd like to provide public comment?
I see nothing online here.
Doesn't appear to be, so we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone.
You have wild horse